The all-consuming train wreck of feminists losing an argument. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and let me tell you, there is nothing more socially painful for as many people as possible as what happens when feminists lose arguments. It does not matter what the subject, it does not matter how obviously wrong they are, and it does not matter how many people see their lunacy. Like mosquitoes at dusk, no matter how many you slap, they will continue to swarm on everybody nearby, hoping to suck them dry. You see, you always have to keep three things in mind when you square off against a group of feminists in an argument. And yes, they always travel in packs. According to them, 1. They're always the victims. 2. Their insults and dishonesties don't count. And 3. They'll never let it go. I think the vast majority of people probably learn at some point in their lives when it's best to just walk away from an argument, resting assured that they've probably made their point and that any continued engagement can only lead to further misunderstandings and tensions. But this thought process has never once entered the feminist mind. Feminists are women not just filled to the brim with various forms of mutually reinforced, dishonest, toxic femininity, but they are so completely and utterly lacking in dignity and self-respect that they will bite and claw you to the bitter end when they turn what should have been a small disagreement or intellectual discussion into a shouting match or an insult fest. If one of them were to freak out at a party because people were cooking bacon and she acted like it was a personal offense to her vegan nose and she was totally rude about it, and then she started yelling in front of 30 people and eventually was told to leave by everybody at once, she'd probably just continue to scream at them. Why do I care if I'm being kicked out of this oppressive dude bro party anyway? Why do I care? I never felt welcome here to begin with. You're all just objectifying women anyway, and I am perfectly happy to be without you. And of course, she'd stand outside continuing to scream for another 20 minutes or so, but in her twisted little head, she's gonna have the last laugh. And she'd be right, because all she has to do is go home and get on social media and rally the troops that seemingly sit around waiting for outrage from a feminist sister, like some sort of Batman logo in the sky that can come from any fellow feminist. By the time the person who hosted the party wakes up from his hangover the next day, the feminists will not just have damned him extensively as a patriarchal scumbag for kicking out their feminist sister, but they'll have gone on to basically just make shit up about him. Maybe he sexually harasses people. Maybe he's a date rapist. Maybe he's a pedophile. It sounds like I am exaggerating, but they'll slyly insert such notions into tweets and Facebook comments, saying things like, I wouldn't be surprised if he sexually harasses women regularly. The way he was speaking to women at his party was absolutely disgusting. And then the next girl says, yeah, and I heard there were underage girls there. And then the next girl says, underage? So he's a pedophile. That's just great. What kind of world are we living in? But God forbid the guy try to defend himself. That's just what they want, and the games will begin. He'll instantly be barraged by 5 or more feminists at once, who, as we have already learned, are willing to say absolutely anything and everything about him. And though they might only be a small group of 5, it will seem like about 30 based on how dedicated they are to the argument. More so, after they gaslight the argument and claim that he started it and bring up rumors about pedophilia, they'll screen capture his Facebook comments or retweet his tweets out of context to play victim, which will get the white knights involved. There's always a few dudes who have nothing better to do than hop into these arguments helping out the feminists, and they'll likely proudly admit that they have no idea what the argument is even about. Finally, a friend or two of the party host gets involved in the conversation and tries to defend him. But God have mercy on that poor guy's soul. He'll get it every bit as bad as his friend, if not worse, as if the gang of feminists are trying to make an example out of him, which is exactly what they are doing. They are barking louder than any bite that they have because all they have is the illusion of being in the majority, based on the fact that most people don't have time for their drama. Eventually, people see this happening, and a number of people wish that they could do something, but they are simply afraid to get involved because they don't want the drama. And who could blame them? The feminists are not engaging because they were ever legitimately under the impression that they were in the right in the first place, in regards to the original argument. In all honesty, the girl should have just not been a jerk about the bacon smell when she was a guest at a party. And if the feminists who are supporting this woman who is totally obnoxious with the bacon thing, if they even thought about the conflict realistically for a second, they would know that she was totally obnoxious. These people are her friends. They know how obnoxious she is. But the argument itself is not important. These are women who feel slighted by reality itself, because generally nobody really likes them. But because they are so lacking in agency or self-respect, they are unwilling to improve their positions in life. They are only willing to surround themselves with similarly insipid spastics who mutually reinforce the delusional behavior that none of them probably truly feel is honest or noble deep down. But again, it doesn't matter because it's still fun for them to gang up on people. They get off on it. As I said before, the only thing anybody rational can do with such arguments is to disengage and move forward. And let me make something abundantly clear. I am making this video right after getting sucked into similar irrational drama with a pack of dishonest feminists who act quite similar to this, and I will be moving forward. However, I want to predict very clearly that the comment section below this video will be sprinkled with at least a few of these aforementioned types of feminists, because as long as they are on a unified spree of binge arguing with enough numbers where each person can pretend to themselves that they don't all know deep down that they are just fucking in the wrong, as long as they can keep up the argument surrounded by a herd, they'll never have to pause and self-reflect. That's all I have to say for this evening. Drop me a comment, help me out on Patreon if you think I seem cool, and stay tuned.